So here we go. We are cooking with Thrive again. So I am out of spaghetti sauce. So it is time to make some more, and I like to make my spaghetti sauce myself. And then now I've learned how to can it. I used to just freeze it, but now I can it and it makes it even easier. You just heat up a can of sauce, cook some noodles, and there's dinner for you. Fantastic. So in here I have 2 pounds of ground beef. Now if you're vegetarian, you don't have to put the beef in. You don't have to put any meat. You can put whatever kind of meat you want. That doesn't matter. Really what matters with your spaghetti sauce is your tomatoes and your onion, garlic, herb mixture. And that really the ingredients, vegetable-wise, that you want to put in, that's entirely up to you. So I'm going to show you what we're using. So it's actually a combination of the Thrive Freeze Dried Foods and my own herbs and spices. So here's the thyme that I dried from last year. Here's the parsley. Here's the basil. And then this is new to me. This is a tomato sauce. And it's actually a powder. And I might actually throw this camera into my headgear, which I haven't used in forever, and do that while I'm cooking this. But anyway, I'm going to try that instead of a tomato paste and see how it works. Usually I use a tomato paste and canned tomatoes. I did not can any tomatoes myself this year, so the next best thing, freeze-dried. So I'm going to use those freeze-dried tomatoes, and then I have some peppers here. These are the small chopped ones. And then I also like mushrooms in my spaghetti sauce. So I'm going to throw in a bunch of those. And then I've got 1 4-liter of broth in there with the burger that I used cooking it. And I've got another 4 cups of broth here. 946 mil or a liter, or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and throw all this stuff in there, and then I will be back. Okay, so let's get going. First off, we have our tomatoes. This is a fresh can, and a can is 6 servings per container. Add a 1/2 cup of water per 1/4 cup. Let me get there's a doohickey in here, an oxygen absorber. There we go. I'm just going to dump the whole can of tomatoes in there. That's about the equivalent of a big can and a half or so. I looked at the big 32 ounce or 28 ounce can, and that's like four servings. So this is 6 servings. We'll toss those in there. And so this is all going to be guesstimating based on things I know. So something that I am going to add in here before I even get going too much further is this other 4 cups of broth. Anyway, so that's now 8 cups of water in there. I've added the can of tomatoes. I'm going to add, let's get rid of that. I'm going to add a couple of, I'm going to add a couple of big handfuls of the mushrooms. And here are my peppers, red and green, mixed and already diced. I'm going to add that's probably about a pepper, a 1/4 cup or so is probably a pepper. So that's a couple of peppers worth. And now this is what I haven't tried before. You know what? I'm going to actually add more broth to this because I want more spaghetti sauce than that. So hang on for a sec, and I'm going to go and get another one of those. So hey, something else I decided to do, which I've not tried before, is I'm going to also throw in a can of diced tomatoes. And then in the end, we'll be able to tell whether I can tell a difference from the canned tomatoes to the freeze-dried tomatoes. Check it out, right? Can't hurt. There we go. And I'm using my dehydrated onions. That's probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 onions. I'm going to toss all of that in there. Well, that worked out just about perfect. This is hot, or it was hot a second ago, and I went ahead and chopped up some garlic, and I've got that ready, and then I've got my herbs. Oh, and one thing I don't have, and here we go, we're also going to cook with essential oil. So, cooking with essential oils, this is an oregano oil that I have here, and I'll try to hold it up here where you can possibly see it. Oh. Let's go back to here. Okay, so this is some oregano oil, and I don't have much fresh oregano. I certainly don't have enough for a batch of spaghetti this size. So I'm going to use my essential oil in place of my fresh oregano in my, or dried oregano. I didn't get any dried oregano last year either. My oregano just didn't seem to grow, and I don't like to buy I don't like to buy oregano from the store because it's such a difference in flavor. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and, oh, look, there's my, let's get rid of that. Sometimes I keep those because they can be super handy. You can't really use them again for food storage, but there's other reasons you would use an oxygen absorber. 2, 3. Okay, so that's not quite 2 cups. But we'll start there, and then we'll see how much it takes to make it a nice tomatoey sauce. I don't know, that looks pretty tomatoey to me. What do you think? Oh, I do still want to add the rest of these mushrooms in, because adding that more liquid, oh, look at that. Let's use my knife. Some of my powder. I'm going to slice myself with my nice sharp knives. I'm gonna have to squish up some of this, just like working with tomato paste. You gotta find it and squish it up. Isn't that funny? Okay, well that looks pretty tomatoey to me. I am still finding the odd little chunk of tomato powder. But yeah, okay, so let's throw these mushrooms in, and then we're going to throw in our herbs. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw the rest of that can in there. How many servings in there? 8 servings per container. So I need a cost. I don't know that this is super cost effective, but oh my gosh, the convenience and the savings on my back, because I didn't have to stand there for 3 hours cutting onions and tomatoes and like, I don't know, for you younger people that might be just dandy, but I tell you what, I have got a really bad back, and the convenience of this versus that is astronomical for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my herbs added in here, and then oh, and my garlic. I've got a bunch of garlic here. I actually chopped up, and I did it just a rough chop. We'll go super rustic with this spaghetti sauce here. Chunky. So we're gonna put in our garlic, and that was probably about a, I don't know, a tablespoon and a half of garlic. It was 5 small cloves. Now we're gonna throw in a little bit of thyme, and I'm just gonna take a big pinch, and I'm gonna kind of run it through my fingers as I'm putting it in. And that is that. And I've got a little bit of parsley. I'm going to go ahead and throw a little bit of that in. And I've got some basil. I need to... Good thing it's almost basil season again because I am running low. This is the basil I grew in my garden last year. Oh, and it still just smells so fresh. Oh, you just gotta love it. I don't know. I'm sure that if you're using, and a lot of the people who are watching my channel are probably using your own herbs. You know, if you're not somebody who's using your own herbs, and you're not somebody who has room for a big garden, but you think you'd like to start growing something, perhaps, Carlin, or anyone else, if you're thinking about growing a small garden, starting with your own herbs is a fantastic way to go, because then you're definitely using what you're growing, and you will notice such a huge difference in the taste of your food. So I'm going to add, let's start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drops of oregano oil. And hopefully that's not too crazy. Look at how yummy that looks. Give it a good smell at this point, and I think it needs a little bit more oregano. 2 more drops. And a little bit more basil. Another pinch. Oop, there's a big leaf. Don't drop the right big leaves in there. Make sure you actually, and crumbling it up too like this kind of releases the oils and refreshes the herb. So yeah, there you have it. That's how I make my spaghetti sauce. Well, I mean, it's a little different than usual because, and you know what? I am going to taste it to see if it is tomatoey enough with that tomato sauce in it. Well, I'm gonna let it cook for, I'll just leave it on saute for another 15 minutes, and then I'll give it a taste before I decide if I'm gonna put it on to pressure cook or not. So I'll be back in 15 minutes, or a blink of an eye. I didn't record any of that. So I tasted the spaghetti sauce. It needed a little bit more of the tomato powder. I put in another 1/4 cup of tomato powder, and it needed some salt, and so I threw some salt in. Other than that, it's pretty darn good. I'm gonna let it cook for an hour. I've got it on slow cook at the highest temperature for slow cook. And I'm going to let it slow cook for an hour, and then we'll come in and throw together some pasta, and that'll be dinner. And then I'm going to let it slow cook. I'll probably turn it down to the low temperature for slow cooking, and I'll let it slow cook overnight. And then I will can it up tomorrow.